Have you ever felt that the older you get, the more you carry, not in your hands but in your heart? Memories, regrets, unspoken words, relationships that no longer bring peace. Over time, these things can weigh on your spirit more than you realize. But what if peace isn't found in doing more, but in letting go? As we age, life gently teaches us what truly matters. It shows us that we don't have to hold on to everything we've collected along the way, especially the habits that quietly steal our joy. In this video, we'll explore a few powerful shifts, simple yet profound changes that can help clear emotional space, ease the weight of the past, and invite more lightness into your everyday life. We won't ask you to change who you are, but to gently reflect on what you no longer need to carry. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, this is your time. And it's never too late to choose peace over pressure, meaning over clutter, and freedom over fear. So make yourself comfortable, breathe easy, and stay with us. Your peaceful chapter may begin with just one quiet choice. Number 1, let go of regrets of the past. Letting go of regret, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But for many of us in our later years, it's one of the hardest things to truly do. Because regret has a quiet way of lingering. It slips into our thoughts at night, settles into our hearts on quiet mornings, and whispers reminders of what we could have done differently. A word we never said, a path we didn't take, a person we let drift away. And yet, even as we carry these regrets, there comes a moment, usually later in life, when we begin to understand something deeply important, that clinging to what cannot be changed only keeps us from fully embracing what still remains. I remember speaking with a woman named Lorraine. She was 79, elegant in a soft, simple way, and had the kind of wisdom in her eyes that only comes from time and heartache. One day she told me how she used to replay a single conversation over and over in her mind. It was the last talk she had with her younger sister before a falling out. Years passed, then decades. The phone never rang again, and one day it was too late. I used to punish myself for that silence, she said. I thought that guilt made me loyal to her memory, but it only made me sad. What helped her finally breathe again was this simple question she asked herself. If I had known then what I know now, would I have done things differently? Of course, the answer was yes, and that answer became her comfort. Because regret, you see, isn't proof of failure. It's proof that we cared, that we loved, that we were human. The truth is, everyone carries regrets. The businessman who missed his child's recital, the mother who worked 2 jobs and still felt it wasn't enough, the friend who stayed silent during an argument, thinking there'd be more time to make things right. But no one lives a perfect life, no matter how polished it might look from the outside. We've all stumbled. We've all wished we could rewrite a chapter, but the only story we still have the power to shape is the one we're living now. It's like holding a suitcase filled with stones, each one a memory, a choice, a moment that didn't go the way we hoped. At first, we think carrying it makes us stronger, more responsible, more loving. But over time, it becomes clear it's just heavy and we're tired. Setting it down isn't forgetting, it's choosing to walk forward without the weight. Some people do this by writing letters to those they never got to say goodbye to. Others sit with their past, speak their truth aloud, and let it echo into the silence. Some simply close their eyes and say, I forgive myself. And that's where real peace begins, with forgiveness. Not always of others, but of ourselves. Of the younger version of us who didn't know better. Of the version who tried and failed, who acted out of fear or love or confusion. What if instead of replaying our regrets like a broken record, we reframe them as evidence of a life fully lived? A life that was brave enough to try. Regret can shrink us, but it can also be a doorway to growth, if we let it be. Of course, the past will always be part of who we are, but it doesn't have to define who we become. The most beautiful part of growing older is realizing we can choose what we carry, every day, in every breath. And the truth is, this present moment, the one we're in right now, is the only moment we're guaranteed. So why not live it fully, gently, and with a heart unburdened? Think of the people you still have beside you. Think of the mornings yet to wake to. The hands you still get to hold. The music you still get to hear. Life hasn't stopped. It's still happening, right here, right now. And it's asking you to show up with all of your heart, not weighed down by yesterday, but uplifted by the wisdom it gave you. So if you're sitting there wondering if it's too late to let go, it's not. Not at all. It's never too late to forgive yourself, to give yourself permission to start again, to look in the mirror and say, I did the best I could. Because chances are, you did. And even if you didn't, even if you fell short, that's still part of being human. What matters now is how you choose to live this day and the next, and however many more you're given. Letting go of regret doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means honoring it, learning from it, and then gently setting it down so your hands are free to hold the beauty that still lies ahead. Number 2, let go of pointless relationships. There comes a time in life, usually when our hair turns silver and the rush of youth fades into stillness, when we begin to see things with new eyes. The noise of expectations quiets, and what's left is a longing not for more, but for better. A better kind of peace, a better kind of love, a better kind of connection. That clarity, though, doesn't come all at once. It often arrives slowly, quietly, in the middle of a conversation that leaves us more drained than nourished, or in the silence that follows a phone call that never comes. We start to notice the relationships in our lives, not just their presence, but their weight. I remember a man named Walter, 74, who once shared something that stayed with me. He said, I've had a friend named Jerry since high school. We used to go fishing, fix cars, play cards on Sunday nights. But somewhere along the line, the friendship changed. Jerry became bitter, always complaining, always angry at the world. And every time I met him for coffee, I left feeling smaller, not sad, just worn out. Like I had to shake off his mood before I could breathe again. Walter kept meeting Jerry for years out of habit, out of guilt. I figured, he's an old friend, and I didn't want to seem unkind, he said. But then one day I asked myself, what if the reason I feel so tired isn't just age, but the people I surround myself with? That question opened a door in Walter's heart, and maybe it will open one in yours too. As we grow older, we begin to realize that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some were right for a season, for a younger version of ourselves. Others were never really right, but we held on to them anyway, because we didn't want to be alone, or because we thought we owed it to the past to keep pretending the bond was still there. But here's a gentle truth that's easy to forget. Your heart is not a museum. You don't have to keep every relationship just because it's old. Some people in your life are like sunshine. They lift your spirits even in silence. You feel safe with them, seen by them. They may not call every day, but when they do, your voice softens. Your eyes smile. These people are rare, and they're worth every ounce of effort to keep close. But others are like clouds that never part. They speak in complaints. They remember every wound, but none of the joy. They drain your energy without ever pouring anything back in. And somehow you still return to them, out of guilt or fear of seeming cold, or the weight of an old memory that once mattered but no longer lives. We're not taught how to let go of relationships gracefully, especially not as we age. Society tells us to be loyal, to endure, to keep showing up. But let me offer you another idea. Perhaps real wisdom comes in knowing when a relationship has run its course and in having the courage to choose peace over obligation. Think about the people in your life today, not 20 years ago, today. When you speak with them, do you feel lighter or heavier afterward? Do you feel heard, or do you feel like you've been made small? Are you celebrated or merely tolerated? If someone leaves you feeling invisible, that's a sign. If someone never asks how you're doing, but always expects you to listen to their worries, that's a sign. And if you always have to brace yourself before speaking to someone, like putting on invisible armor, that too is a sign. Letting go doesn't mean you slam the door. It doesn't even mean you stop loving the person. It simply means you're choosing not to let their energy become your burden. It's like tending a garden. Your time is the sunlight, your energy is the water, and the people in your life are the plants. Some are blooming, thriving, adding beauty to your world. Others are withering and pulling everything down with them, spreading rot, crowding out the good. If you want a peaceful life, you must be willing to pull a few weeds. Not with anger, but with love for the flowers. Of course, this is easier said than done. There's often guilt, especially with family. You may think, but she's my sister, but he's my son. But we've known each other forever, and I understand that. Truly I do. But here's something to remember. Even family should not cost you your peace. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop loving someone. It means you start loving yourself enough to protect your spirit. And yes, it may feel lonely at first. The space left behind when you step away from someone can echo. But give it time. That space is sacred. It's where new connections can grow. It's where old, forgotten parts of yourself can return. You might rediscover your laughter. You might find yourself drawn to people who share your values now, not just your history. You might even find that being alone sometimes feels better than being surrounded by people who leave you feeling unseen. And when that happens, when you notice your days feel lighter, your chest feels less tight, your mornings quieter but more peaceful, you'll understand what Walter finally understood, that choosing peace is not selfish. It's wise, it's healing, it's the reward of a life that has already given so much to others and now deserves to give something back to itself. So ask yourself this: who makes your heart feel light? Who helps you feel more like yourself? Who leaves you smiling after the call ends rather than sighing? And then ask the harder question: who have you been keeping around out of guilt, out of habit, out of fear that you'll be seen as unkind? Because you are not unkind for protecting your joy. You are not selfish for wanting peace. And you are not alone in feeling that it's time to choose the kind of relationships that nourish your soul, not drain it. In this stage of life, you deserve more than noise. You deserve warmth. You deserve presence. You deserve to be surrounded by people who see you, not as a burden, not as an obligation, but as a blessing. Let go of what no longer serves you. Walk gently away from those who cannot love you in the way you deserve. And open your arms to the peace waiting just beyond the weight you've been carrying. It is not the quantity of relationships that fills a life with meaning, it's the quality. One true connection is worth more than 100 forced ones. So choose wisely, choose kindly, choose peace. You've earned it. Number 3, let go of resentment to forgive yourself and others. There's a kind of heaviness that doesn't show on the outside. You can walk just fine, smile at your neighbors, even laugh during lunch with an old friend. But deep inside, you feel it, that tightness in your chest, that unspoken ache. It sits with you in quiet moments and creeps into your thoughts at night. For many of us, that heaviness has a name: resentment. Resentment isn't loud. It doesn't shout or storm into the room. It whispers. It lingers. And over time, it becomes a quiet thief, stealing your peace, your joy, and even your health. It can come from places we don't talk about much anymore. A harsh word from a loved one that never got an apology. A betrayal that changed the way we trusted. Or maybe, and this is more common than most admit, a deep disappointment in ourselves for something we did or didn't do long ago. I met Evelyn once, a retired piano teacher with silver hair and eyes that had clearly seen both joy and sorrow. She told me about her younger sister, Mary. They had a falling out nearly 25 years earlier, something about money, inheritance, and misunderstandings. We were so close as girls, she said, her voice softening. But after that argument, we stopped speaking. She passed away before we made peace. Evelyn looked down at her hands, still poised and graceful despite the years. I thought the anger protected me, but all it did was build a wall around me. It never kept the pain out. It just kept the healing from coming in. That's the trick resentment plays on us. It convinces us that holding on to the pain is a form of protection, that if we stay angry, we'll never be hurt again. But in truth, resentment doesn't shield us. It shackles us. It turns old wounds into permanent walls. And the longer we hold it, the more it drains us, not just emotionally, but physically too. Science has shown what many of us already feel in our bones. Chronic resentment can contribute to stress, insomnia, high blood pressure, and even heart trouble. It chips away at the joy in our days and shortens the calm in our nights. But more than that, it robs us of something even more sacred: our peace. So what does it mean to let go? Does it mean saying what happened was okay? Absolutely not. Forgiveness isn't about excusing pain or pretending we weren't hurt. It's not about erasing the past. It's about refusing to let the past define the rest of our story. Letting go is an act of courage. It's standing in front of the pain and saying, I see you. I remember what happened, but I will not carry you anymore. You're not doing it for the person who wronged you. You're doing it for yourself, for the freedom that comes when you no longer wake up bitter or go to bed with old anger sitting beside you. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a kind of emotional retirement from carrying burdens that were never meant to be permanent. And don't forget, sometimes the person we need to forgive the most is ourselves. Many older adults live with a silent shame tucked away in the corners of their hearts. Maybe you regret not being a more patient parent. Maybe you feel guilty for a love that faded, a mistake made when you were just trying to survive. Maybe deep down, you still whisper, I should have known better. But here's something I want you to hear with your whole heart. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. You made choices not from malice, but from pain, fear, or hope. And that makes you human, not broken. Self-forgiveness doesn't mean pretending we never failed. It means recognizing that we are more than our worst moments. It means saying, I can't go back and change that version of me, but I can choose to be gentle with them now. So how do you begin to let go of resentment? Start by acknowledging it. Don't bury it deeper. Bring it into the light and say, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt, but it does not get to decide who I am today. Then set an intention, not a demand. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a path you walk. Whisper to yourself, I am ready to loosen my grip on this pain. Even if you don't know exactly how yet, the intention is the first, most powerful step. And perhaps, if you're ready, try to reframe the story. Not to change the facts, but to change your relationship to them. Instead of seeing a scar, see a sign of survival. Instead of reliving the betrayal, honor the strength it took to keep going after it happened. One woman I know named Grace began writing letters to the people who hurt her. She never sent them. That wasn't the point. She wrote to express the grief, the anger, the disappointment, and then, when she felt ready, she wrote one more line. And now I choose to let this go. She folded each letter and burned them in her fireplace. She told me, it didn't fix everything, but it made space for everything else. Joy, laughter, peace. That's what letting go does. It creates space. Space for morning sunlight to feel warmer. Space for laughter that isn't followed by guilt. Space for you to connect with people who make you feel loved, not guarded. You may not realize it, but resentment takes up real estate in your life. It crowds out gratitude. It fogs your view of today with shadows from yesterday. And your today, your right now, deserves more than that. So if you're carrying something, maybe now is the time to gently set it down. Not all at once, not with fanfare, just quietly, as an act of love for yourself. You've carried so much in your life, responsibilities, expectations, the needs of others. You've been strong, but now in this season of your life, strength looks different. It looks like softening, like releasing, like peace. You don't need to carry old wounds into your tomorrows. You don't need to keep replaying the same pain, hoping it will change shape. It won't, but you can. Let this be the moment you start to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Not because the past changes, but because your future still has room for healing. Today is not yesterday, and this day, this breath, this quiet moment of reflection, it could be the beginning of your lightness. So breathe. Be gentle with yourself. Let go. You're not letting go of your strength, you're reclaiming it. And in that release, you'll find something you've long deserved: peace. As we journey through our later years, peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from releasing what weighs us down. When you let go of regrets, you stop living in yesterday's shadow and start seeing today's light more clearly. When you release relationships that no longer nourish you, you make room for deeper, more meaningful connections. And when you choose forgiveness over resentment, you give your heart the freedom to breathe again. This chapter of your life is not about carrying old burdens. It's about walking lighter, loving deeper, and finding calm in the quiet. Let go of what no longer serves you, and you'll be surprised how much beauty rushes in to take its place. If this message touched something in your heart, take a moment to comment, "Let go," and let that be your first step. For more gentle reminders and heartfelt reflections to guide you, feel free to subscribe, not out of pressure, but as a quiet promise to keep choosing peace together. Your story isn't over. In fact, the most peaceful pages may still be ahead. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to welcome them with grace,